Go woke, go broke, not true for brands, says global advertisement study. Oh, really now? Oh, really now? After the enormous, titanic flop of Concord, an extraordinarily diverse design game, after the failure of Star Wars Outlaws, a Star Wars game to reach sales expectations, after the cancellation of The Acolyte, you, The Guardian, are telling me that go woke, go broke is not true. Well, we have done an incredibly good job of convincing the corporations of the opposite, despite your supposed data, I guess. And I just want to point out as well, this is of course an article on The Guardian. The Guardian was once an incredibly respected and valued news outlet, known around the world, and now, in the era where go woke, go broke is not at all true, well, now they've got this nice, big, fat e-begging pint at the bottom of their article. I hope you appreciate this article. Before you move on, I want to ask if you would consider supporting The Guardian's journalism during one of the most consequential news cycles of our lifetimes. We're running out of money. No one wants to give us any. We are simply not valuable anymore, and we are outcompeted by YouTubers in their basements. But, go woke, go broke, not true. I'll believe what I will about that, but let us engage with this with a hint of charitability, shall we? Because there are some interesting points here, because in part they are of course correct. Go woke, go broke is not an ironclad rule by any stretch of the imagination. It's not something that just happens like that. They make a woke product and then the company collapses. Of course not. Ubisoft has been making woke nonsense for the last half a decade and they're still solvent, for the time being anyways. Disney as well has certainly taken a hammering in the financial department but are still on their feet, or better yet, Valve's recently released Deadlock game has DEI design, at the very least, the equal of Concord, and possibly in some... No, that's stretching it a bit far. I don't like the design of Deadlock, but it ain't Concord just yet. But it is not going to go woke and, go broke more correctly, even if it is going a little bit woke. Or Games Workshop, my own favorite example. It's been going woke for quite some time now, but it hasn't gone woke enough to make it go broke. As when we say woke, we don't mean, as this article will go on to say, merely using diverse people in their advertisement. It is a ideology. It is a way of thinking, a way of doing business, and a way of approaching the world that is not particularly conducive to sound economic decision-making. But enough preamble. The cringe factor can be high when an established brand suddenly aligns itself with up-to-date values. I do love how the left, at the one moment, rails against rainbow capitalism, you evil corporation, you, but the moment they so much as hint at abandoning them, they go crawling on their knees back to them, giving, oh no, please, no, the wider market is out there, please don't abandon us. We know we're literally only valuable because we can bully you. Anywho, it did not appear to work well for Gillette, which suffered a public backlash 5 years ago to its toxic masculinity advert, or for Mark & Spencer when it brought out an LGBT rainbow-colored sandwich to mark Pride, or for Bud Light, or for Sony, or for Ubisoft, the list goes on. But new academic research carried out for the advertising industry suggests that go woke, go broke, the snappy catchphrase devised by right-wing groups as a warning to brands, has got it all wrong. Okay then, well, first and foremost, who exactly is releasing this breaking study? On Monday, the findings of a global study from the Unstereotype Alliance, a business initiative convened by UN Women, well, yes, that sounds like a trustworthy and not at all in the slightest biased organization. I believe that I can probably trust the findings on Unstereotype Alliance, a business initiative by UN Women, to find the unbiased, unvarnished truth, rather than the one that benefits them. will offer new evidence that advertising campaigns that are more inclusive have a positive impact on profits, sales, and brand worth. The analysis was conducted by researchers from the Sade Business School at Oxford University using data collected by a group of large businesses, including Diego, Kantar, and Unilever, in collaboration with the Gene Davis Institute, set up by US actor and activist to study gender in media. Again, I feel as if I can more or less determine all of the findings in this study without actually needing to read it. It's probably just because of my huge bulging mind, of course, being able to predict the future. But unlike my friend Dev, that fervently maintains that we cannot be certain that the sun will rise in the morning, I find that I have developed certain predictive capabilities, and one of them is that the left usually prefers the narrative that benefits the left. I know, a wild judgment, and yet here we are. It found that when adverts can authentically and positively portray a full range of people devoid of stereotypes, it can provide an edge in the marketplace when it comes to consumer preference and long-term sales figures. Based on analysis of 392 brands across 58 countries, the research, which claims to be the first of its kind, oh, I don't know about that, indicates the positive impact of inclusive advertising on outcomes, with an almost 3.5% boost to short-term sales and a more than 16% increase in the long term. It seems to persuade 62% of buyers to choose a product and make 15% more of shoppers more loyal. Well, that sounds absolutely amazing, were it not for the slight caveat there. When an advert can authentically and positively portray a full range of people devoid of stereotypes. Yes, in other words, when you can create the perfect advertisement, it increases sales. Thank you. I was unaware of this piece of nuance in the advertising business, and it made me think of this. The Black Muses from Hercules, as I was rewatching it just the other day because it is an absolute classic. When this came out, nobody had a problem with it. Now, Hercules didn't actually do all that well at the box office. I think it earned $100 million or so, which is respectable, but certainly not a blockbuster at the time. But they featured a group of singing, dancing black muses. This is of course set in Greece, and so you would think that black people would be relatively rare, and yet nobody objected. Why? Because this is actually what they were talking about here. This is actually an authentic and positive portrayal and devoid of stereotypes. Well, it's not quite devoid of stereotypes, that's to be fair. But it is positive, it comes across as authentic as the people singing are giving it all, and stereotypes, well, that's actually the benefit. Sassy black women singing. What bigger of a stereotype is there out there? And everybody loved it. In fact, you can see defenses of it today. Yet of all the changes Disney made to transition the lore into entertainment, none are more revolutionary, if still grossly insufficient, than the decision to cast the muse who narrates Hercules' adventures as a gospel choir of black women. This article, it will not surprise you to learn, is from 2022, not from the year of the video's actual release. This also then continued with, hey Disney, the live-action Hercules muses need to be black women. Because, of course, you know how they constantly argue that history is no excuse, we've got to make it more diverse, just because it came before doesn't mean we need to do it now. Well, that argument flies right out the window, of course, when, again, the narrative benefits the left. See how this tends to work out? It's weird indeed. And yes, by the way, there is a live-action Disney Hercules. It's still going ahead. It's still real. God help me. Is absolutely nothing sacred? Is there no corpse we must not unearth solely for the singular reason of desecrating it? Must we dig up every single cherished beloved memory and fuck it off the arse? Is it truly necessary? Must we? But to return to the point. Yes, when you manage to create good advertisement, it has good outcomes on sales. This is actually true. Now, the assertion is consistently unfounded about go woke, go broke. Okay, the idea that inclusive advertising content can commercially damage a business has limited progress for too long. Progress. for too long. Said Sarah Denby, head of the Unstereotype Alliance Secretariat at UN Women. That is perhaps the single most made-up title I have ever heard in my life. But there, progress for too long. For this woman, this has nothing to do with the benefit of advertisers. For her, this is a political agenda. It is a moral and value judgment, and that is what we talk about when we say woke. It has nothing to do with a good representation of characters. It has to do with the politics that gave a Bud Light sponsorship to Dylan Mulvaney. That is what reduces a company to going broke. That is what reduces a once famous newspaper to e-begging via PayPal. Because that is the key thing. Going woke, the definition of woke is in essence to view the world through an intersectional lens, which is of course in and of itself a deeply political lens. It is a lens that argues that we should advantage certain groups over others due to what we argue are historical inequities. And these historical injustices can never be allowed to be resolved because it is the fundament of our power. We have created a doctrine with original sin, where those who did wrong in the past can never ever shake the weight of the crimes of their forebears because we are building a new aristocracy on the back of that sin. That is what we mean with woke. And inevitably, it advantages the wrong kind of people. When you create a system that values gender and skin color over talent, you get Concord. That is what creates Concord. That is what happens when you create Star Wars, the gayest, most diverse Star Wars show ever. When you hire a lesbian producer for the reason that she is a lesbian producer, which is what I must assume considering the absolute, unequivocal lack of quality in Star Wars The Acolyte, you get a bad product. That is what has reduced a brand as valuable as Star Wars, the single most valuable brand on planet Earth, to a guaranteed flop. This is why I do not particularly care what the Unstereotype Alliance at UN Women find. This is what advertisers are looking at right now. This is what brands are looking at right now. They are looking at a history of 10 years of chasing the wider audience, of attempting to find the modern woke individuals who are out there in overwhelming numbers and running into flop after flop after flop. You can tell them all you want that if they do it, they'll see a 5.6% rise in their sales. You can tell them all you want that it will give them more loyal customers. Reality does not support your findings. And seeing as you yourself argue that standing in the way of progress is the primary goal of this rather than economic incentive, we know what your goal is. The only reason why you are even pretending to be on the side of the corporations is because you need their money. So, go woke, go broke. It's still true. It is demonstrated and borne out by the world we live in, by the fucking universe itself. And advertisers have, at long last, begun to notice this fact. And no amount of studies created by political agitprop organizations are going to change the course of this particular snowball. The only thing you're going to do is stand in his way and get buried beneath it. And hey, don't take that as me advising you to get out of the way by any stretch of the imagination. The more of your kind get buried beneath it, the better for all of us. Where we can mayhaps even return to a period where products are made for an audience rather than for the UN Women's Board, which is, incidentally, the exact target demographic of Star Wars The Acolyte. Until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.